My name is Arina Denig. I'm a photographer based in Berlin. The following lecture about my photographic project, the MIES project, was originally held at the IIT College of Architecture in Chicago. What is the focus of my work? I'm artistically interested in modern and urban life. The next photo, Encounter Begegnung 2014 New York, is from my project Perfect Life. The digital revolution, artificial intelligence, roboting, it all has a high impact on our life in the 21st century. Even more than accepting it, I work with it. It inspires me. Werner Blaser writes in The Art of Structure, quoting Mies. It was my growing conviction that there could be no architecture of our time without the prior acceptance of these new scientific and technical developments. In the past, the question was how to obtain information. Nowadays, we are virtually flooded with information. The proper structuring is what matters, what is needed. Light reflections convey this idea through a variety of levels of perception. They are essential characteristics of my photography. Large areas of out of focus in combination with specific areas of sharpness. They throw our perception into disorder. Encants News, Barcelona 2016 from the project Contemporary Architecture Barcelona. My abstract images often function the other way around or upside down. It is in the eye of the beholder. The structure, the image composition, represents the stability for the image information. It offers a firm hold. Again, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. It is absurd to invent arbitrary forms, historical and modernistic forms, which are not determined by construction, the true guardian of the spirit of the times. Mies just came to me. It was his work which invited me to the open field of architecture. And one day I decided to stay there. The Mies project started in 2012 by chance, when Malaika and I were passing by the Neue Nationalgalerie in Berlin on a sunny afternoon after a thunderstorm. I was fascinated by the interplay between the construction of the building and the light. Taking photographs here felt like being asked for a dance. This spirit stayed with me fairly constant over the following years, irrespective of the weather conditions and the exhibitions shown inside. I went there until the Neue Nationalgalerie was closed at the beginning of 2016 for reconstruction. At the beginning of 2016, I asked myself whether this special sense of space would be similar in other buildings constructed by Mies as well. I wanted to discover what impact buildings in other cities with different functions and floor plans might have on me, on my photographic eye. The experiences I made with the Neue Nationalgalerie and the resulting photos made me interested in Mies van der Rohe's work after 1928. In March 2016, I went to see the pavilion in Barcelona for the first time. A similar inner viewing happened, which gave me a feeling of peace of mind and balance, combined with a creative restlessness and an amazing freedom of the spirit. This inner viewing forms the basis for my photos of this project. At this moment, in March 2016, it became the MIES project. Throughout the next years, I visited various buildings in diverse countries, cities with varying floor plans and functions. It was always different and similar. It is still a great adventure. The Seagram building was the first skyscraper constructed by MIES I photographed. The permission was from 7 a.m. till 8 a.m. and 1 hour after closing time. It was early October and, as usual, my shooting depended so much on the weather on this specific day. Let me tell you something about the way I work. I like to stay in a hotel as close as possible to the buildings that I take photos of. Equipped with 1 or 2 rangefinder cameras, mostly the Leica M10 with Summilux 35, I like to let myself drift. I'm looking for the authentic impression and the creative impact it has got on me. At the same time, I proceed in a very systematic way by adjusting the aperture and the shutter speed, focus, viewing angle, and distance. With respect to the digital negatives that my camera delivers, I do what I have been doing ever since I started my photographic career in the 1980s, in those days only black and white, by developing the photos myself. I reject any kind of manipulation or staging. The final photo shows the subject how I captured it in. Every building is different based on its function, the customers or residents, and of course the surrounding situation. In Brünn, the second largest city in the Czech Republic, I found this aspect to be very important. The Haus Tugendhat is a building which I consider as being more protected than any other building by MIES I've visited so far. But as you enter the building after passing the gate, the whole atmosphere changes into a mental calmness, into a special generosity. The people who work there are very friendly and open-minded. After spending many days behind the fence, I happened to visit the building under special conditions. The lighting situation was very unusual for shooting. It was noon in June, bright sunshine in the sky. Although the sun was high, inside the light was sort of cold, blue, only little shadows fell in. Right away I found that the contrast was perfect. The wrong light became the right light. I traveled back to Berlin with the following question in my mind. What makes this building so different from other Mies van der Rohe buildings I've seen so far? The answer was provided by a documentary film about the Haus Tugendhat produced by Dieter Reifhardt and his crew. Fritz and Greta Tugendhat awarded the contract to Mies van der Rohe in 1928 to design and implement their new home, the House Tugendhat. At this time, the Jewish people were respected. I assume the Villa Tugendhat was respected. But it was not welcome at the time it was built, and even less during the Nazi era. The exterior was literally external. Inside it was completely different. In the history of the Villa Tugendhat, I found brave people open to new ideas, life, but also the need for protection. While taking photos, I wasn't aware of this background. On the first day of my visit, a little girl was cycling along the fence of the Villa Tugendhat, joined by birds in the sky. This photo, as for me, represents the innocence, the children who lived there a long time ago. Chicago. I had enormous respect for the last stop on my journey with Mies. In Chicago, he left so many marks in so many ways. One of the questions I asked myself was how to cope with the sheer mess. Today I'm grateful to have all this support from wonderful people that I happened to meet in Chicago. For instance, the very warm welcome into the Esplanade apartments, followed by a warm welcome into the Lakeshore Drive apartments. These were my initial stops here in Chicago. They were combined with a journey into myself, my own past, that I did not expect. It draws an interesting parallel line to the personal history of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, who fled to Chicago from the Nazi regime in 1938. I grew up with a very positive idea of America. The reason for this resides in the history of my family. Born in Berlin, both of my parents suffered under the Nazi regime in a different way. My mother's family was completely bombed out. The Nazis wanted my father to attend an elite school, the Napola. My granddad and one teacher managed to prevent this under greatest risk until the end of the war. After the war, as a young student, my father stood shivering in front of the American jazz club Badewanne, located in the Nürnberger Straße, nearby the Gedächtniskirche. He did not know whether he dared to go in, entering a new world. For my parents, America was, and it still is, linked with freedom, optimism, and hope. I was truly overwhelmed with this attitude during my visit to the apartment buildings. Mies about the Lakeshore Drive apartments. When you plan, don't think just of the hammer. Take your trumpet. Building needs resounding ideas. It was like coming home, to the center, to the holy building. I was mostly curious to get in touch with the impact the building would have on me. I expected that I would be mostly impressed by the enormous space, the dimension of the one-room building itself. At the end, it was a new dimension, but not the one I expected. It was the interplay between the inside and the outside, initiated by the character of the windows. which fascinated my photographic eye. Three buildings planned for public affairs: Kluchinsky Federal Building, Dirksen US Courthouse, and the Loop Postal Station. Public. I wondered how the sense for concentration and calmness would have been realized as being part of these buildings. I was wondering how this could have been implemented. As for me, most likely this place is the plaza, and the way how the three buildings were placed by MIES. I even found a healing corner. After standing there for a while, my headache was completely gone. Again, a skyscraper in the midst of a stunning setting. The 23rd floor of the IBM building was completely fenced, but renovation work was almost finished. The electrical wirings were already installed. It was clean, but no carpets or hardwood flooring and no furniture yet. This way, I got an idea how it was originally meant to look like. Speechless. The last station in my project. To be honest, I didn't expect a new dimension, but it opened up for me. I visited Farnsworth House last spring. You probably still remember how awful cold it was in Chicago in May 2018. There was bright and high sunlight, which is normal for this time of the year. But at the same time, there were no leaves on the trees. An unusual combination, and a great invitation to get a different impression. The interplay between the inside and the outside invited me directly to take photos. At all the other places I had visited until then following MIES, it was an offer to commit oneself with the interplay between nature and culture, closed and open spaces, outside and inside. At Farnsworth House, I felt a need to respond, to resonance with this invitation. One more Mies quoted by Werner Blaser. I was in this house myself from morning till evening. I had never known till then what splendid colors nature can display. The interior must therefore be kept neutral in tone, because there are the colors outside. Thank you for your attention, and please feel invited to stay tuned for further information on the MIES project.